Like right here.
Like right here. So this is an episode of When It All Goes Wrong. Not really a new series. If you work in IT, you know sometimes it all goes wrong.
Everything was on fire.
Everything was on fire, and everything that could possibly gone wrong with this disaster in front of us did. So all the worst case scenarios happened. So we'll start from the beginning. So we took on a client, and we know the other IT guy was an idiot. Now, I always say don't pick on the other IT guy because you don't know his situation or whatever. Like, did he tell them they should replace things and not replace things or whatever? So I always take things with a grain of salt, and just, especially if the client starts by blaming the other IT guy, that's not a good place to start. But we have found an overwhelming amount of evidence that it was the other IT guy.
It's one thing when you have one red flag. When you find boxes upon boxes of red flags, you're like, okay, we got problems.
There's a lot of problems here.
And you just keep finding more as it goes on. And you're like, okay.
So we onboarded the client, we took them on, and it was a tumultuous relationship for a while. It was just kind of a mess. We did some of the IT for the client, but this guy had done some programming work for them. So they wanted to hold on to him because they needed some of the code writing skill that he had for some specialized project. Well, finally that project started winding down, and the disasters were winding up, and the downtime they had randomly over things that always seemed like a mystery to him. It was just too much disruption to the company. Everything was like a project to him. And then they got the idea that he didn't seem to really know what he was doing when it comes to the server equipment. And they're still questioning about his programming skills after
Another incident
like that. So where we come in is he agrees we're going to take on the IT, you take on the server. So we take everything over. And he was charging for backups. It was really mysterious whether or not they were working properly or that he was even doing them. So we realized we can do the backups.
Weren't they backing up to external drives that were bad?
Yeah, they were backing up to external USB drives that weren't working. So that was at least the first problem was that we're like, okay, we don't see backups. Then we got a copy because these are virtual. Both of these are their two servers they had. And yes, one of them is a 2950 and one of them is a Dell 520. Yep. Yes, the 2950 is really ancient, and the hard drives all went bad. These are a pile of bad hard drives in the 520.
Three of them.
Three
were bad.
Most are bad. Well,
anyway, out of six.
Yeah. 3 out of 6.
And one was recently replaced.
Yes, with another crappy drive. The guy just went to Micro Center. You
off-the-shelf Seagate 2 terabytes.
Yeah, just
your consumer. I wanted this for my desktop at home.
Yeah, and that's what they
didn't want to spend more than 80 a drive.
We're gonna get more on that in a second. So we take on the client, and we gave them a proposal for replacing the servers. We're like, look, these servers are old, and they are not very fast, and the backups are not there. And when we did have one of the drives, we pulled the VMs off the drive, but they all had passwords on them. Cool for security, bad because the guy said he did not remember the passwords to him, is what his answer was. He didn't say, I wouldn't give you the password. He says, I don't remember what I set the passwords to be. So his disaster recovery plan of keeping VMs on external hard drives as backups that he exported wasn't a real good one because apparently he didn't write down the password. So
you couldn't do anything with them anyway.
First flag, that he was just dense. The second one was, of course, these hard drives. Now, we didn't realize what hard drives were in there. So we gave the client a proposal, and they kind of went around and like, we'll set the backups up, and we sold them these. Specifically, I'll talk about it. We use a SolarWinds backup plan for this client, and we set the backups to go on these VMs, and they started working. We then plugged in our USB drive, a new one, just so we had a local storage. Local speed fault is what's referred to in SolarWinds. So there's a local copy of the storage. That's like the stopgap while we gave proposals to get better equipment in.
Yeah.
And we told the client, yes, there's lots of red blinky lights, especially on this one.
This one.
Yeah.
Some lights just go yellow. Some drives go yellow sometimes. And I think, and their exact words were, we replaced one of those. I can't remember what one, but one drive failed, and we had to put it back in. And
yeah, so there was issues.
Yeah.
And they still waited. Well, finally, there was a power outage about a month ago. And then the drive didn't come on. And that's when I got my 5 a.m. phone call from the client. And it was emergency mode, and reinserting the drive got it. And they immediately, that afternoon, sent us the deposit for the new server. So we immediately ordered the server. And servermonkey.com, by the way. That's what fit their budget. Someone's probably going, you should have bought a brand new Dell. Yeah. They needed a lot of storage. There is a lot of storage array here, and they had plans for expansion. So their first step was we got one from ServerMonkey. We got a nice server with a warranty. It's a newer Dell 530, 64 gigs of RAM, and a RAID 10.
Faster than both of these combined.
Yeah, but times 4. Also, enterprise SAS drives were inserted in it, so everything was top of the line. Then we started the file transfer process. That's where things went worse because we were trying to figure out why the transfers were going at an absolute incredibly slow rate. One, the failing drives. Two, the non-enterprise SATA drives that were in it. Three, this is the part that I think is amazing too. And we'll pull this one out real quick. This was another laugh. Like, why is this server so incredibly slow? This server has Western Digital greens in there.
Yeah.
Server, Western Digital green drive.
1 TB greens. You can't even get those anymore.
I know. So they had consumer SATA green drives. So the transfers were taking an absurd amount of time to get the VMs all consolidated.
Not to mention, when he set the VMs up, he hard-coded a 2 terabyte limit
Yes.
rather than having it dynamically expand as needed. So you have this 2 TB file you're trying to
And
export.
we found some bugs. I went and did some Google searching because one was running VMware. Was it 5?
6.5, I think?
No, it was
Or
older than
5?
that. 5.
Yeah,
Yeah,
5.
5 something. Older version of VMware, there's some known issues if you set to the max hard drive size that it does not want to properly export that hard drive. And by the way, each one of these was at 97% capacity because of the failures in the configuration. So there wasn't any way to make a snapshot or shrink it. So everything was just kind of a mess. And we ended up using the SolarWinds utility because it does bare metal restores to just take the backups and bare metal restore it. Now that's where that sounds easy enough, except there was another power outage.
We had an ice storm
Yeah, we had an ice storm here in Michigan
in April.
in April. Yeah, I know. It went from 69 degrees to an ice storm within, 4 days?
Like 2.
2 days.
It was bad.
We had a really fast temperature swing. That storm took power out during the transfer, then corrupted the local storage. So, before we got the new orders for things, that all went wrong.
Well, we had some of them moved. We were trying to move the last 2 that were
Yeah.
the two 2 TB ones that were
such a big
massive
mess.
and hard to move.
The good news is we resized them once we got them moved over to the other server.
Yeah.
So it was just, everything went wrong on these jobs. And this is one of those things that you can't predict with a client. Even though we're taking them on, we're going to give suggestions and replace things because I can't just power off a production machine and slide the drive out and go, Western Digital green? Oh, by the way, the iDRAC is broke on both of these. We don't know what the guy did. He had a firmware version that doesn't even match what Dell offers. So the iDRAC is definitely bad on this because it's just missing. It has the wrong firmware. We tried flashing with the right firmware. It still doesn't work.
I actually think I found a different one on another Dell site.
Yeah, well, we've been playing.
That might have
because
been what he had.
We're going to keep this one, even though the iDRAC's broke on it, so we can't get it diagnostic, but the server actually does work. It's going to be kind of a warm spare for them until they get the budget to buy another high-end one. We also sold them a FreeNAS machine just to store extra data on and snapshots of all the VMs, so they have a nice, fast, network-connected machine there. If I get a chance, I might do some follow-up video. Mark's pretty cool with us, the gentleman who owns the company, and so I might even have him on to talk about it. We helped him a lot getting all of this sorted out.
I went out there at 2 a.m.
Went out there at 2 a.m.
because this never came back up.
Yeah.
And then it was in a RAID 10, but coincidentally, both the drives that had the A portion of the data failed.
Yeah. And that's the downside when you do a RAID 10, if the wrong 2 drives fail.
Yeah.
And the wrong 2 drives are the ones that failed. So this was it was a mess of everything going wrong. But what I really want you to think about is when you have clients, as much as we would love everyone just to buy brand new everything, and I've had people say, oh, I wouldn't take a client who wouldn't buy brand new everything. Great. Throw
That's
those
cool.
clients at me.
Yeah.
If you got those clients that said, my budget's about $10 million and I want the top of the line everything, I need a Rolls Royce of servers, great.
Okay.
A lot of us, probably many of you watching this video, we work in the real world of IT where there is other components to this
How
guy's
little
company.
can I spend? How much does this downtime really cost me?
And we made some assessments with the client, and like I said, they sat on the quote for a little while.
Yeah.
But nothing quite like their server, and realizing their databases were not available for their entire office to use, or all the files for about 36 hours to get all this stuff retransferred and synchronized again and set back up between all the VMs. They realized the importance of it and didn't have a problem improving the extra steps it's going to take for disaster recovery. But it's sometimes sharing these stories helps. It helps with some of the clients and sharing them with that. I just talked to another client who's kind of got the same situation, and they're him-hoeing on things. And we said, look, you want to talk? Because they kind of know each other. We're like, you could talk to Mark and see what he thinks about waiting on those proposals. And I'm not doing it as a sales pitch because I'm just trying to make a couple bucks. I'm trying to tell you, these are the risk factors you need to add up. what does it cost you not to run your company for 36 hours? That's the pitch you give to the clients. What does it cost you for your engineers or whoever is working there not to be working? And especially if they're like, say, we have an engineering company before we took them over, and they're not in crisis mode, but we know they are because their server's out of warranty, so we proposed to them. And they know how much it costs. They got a bunch of salaried, guys making maybe $80,000, $90,000 a year, a whole room full of them that all do nothing and still make their wage.
They wine and dine all their clients and everything. Like they are.
Yeah, you will. So you really have to assess that with clients and tell them, look, what does it cost you to be down?
A lot.
And if you don't have access to the data, and there's a couple other things you throw in there. It's what does it cost you to be down, and what does it cost your reputation of your company for saying we have computer problems and we can't do the thing that you're contracting and paying us to do. So your projects are late, your reputation is at risk, your employees think less of you because you wouldn't buy that new server for them. I think grumbling in the office.
I think some of them would rather have a pay raise than a new server.
Yeah. Well, there was definitely a group of wandering employees that were just happy it's all broke because they don't have to work. So there's mixed emotions there. I know that the boss was not happy. He's like, I don't put a broom in her hand. I don't know. Make them do something. They're like, we can't do all the thing we usually do.
Yeah. Well, the one guy, he showed up. Because we got it working long enough, they were able to open one of the programs they use. Then it crashed in after like 20 minutes. But because it was loaded in memory on that computer, he goes, no, I got enough to close out everything from the previous night, and then we're just going to continue on paper today.
Yeah, they had to do all back to a paper process. But these are things that you have back and forth with clients, and how we took them on as an onboarding. It's not that I'm trying to be blameless in any of it, but we were very clear, like, hey, we're going to take care of this. We understand your systems, your computers, but your servers are a big question mark. So when we onboarded them as a client under managed services,
100% transparency.
We can't cover those.
Here's your issues. You really need to do this, but we can't force you to buy it.
Yeah. But we can tell you we're not going to warranty them. Like, there's nothing.
Yes.
We think that they are a huge risk factor for you. And these are things we do this with firewalls or at clients, and we have a client like that's got an old firewall. We're like, look, there is no will check. There is no current immediate risk, as in the old firewall has no known vulnerabilities as of today, but it is discontinued. There is no firmware support. So if there's a vulnerability, you should probably take it off on day 0, and that's it until you get another one. So,
cameras, too. We had a couple clients who had old cheap NVRs on the internet, and there's that bot that goes around rewriting all the cameras to hacked. It renames them all and sets all the filters to black so you can't see them. And I reset it once. They got compromised again within a day. I'm like, this is a bot doing it. I go, you can't put it online anymore.
Yeah, and there's no firmware updates.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things you got to assess with your client. You got to make sure they understand the risk as best as and clearly as you can explain it. And you got to think of it in business terms. You can't say you should get better rate arrays or faster this. They don't think in terms like that. They think of the value of the asset. So there's always like those considerations you want to make sure you're thinking of from a business perspective.
What's our cost of ownership, our return on investment,
Yeah, you got to pitch it to them that way and say, look, it's going to cost your company, it's going to take a couple days of downtime. And, for the final, when we got the new server in and now we're selling them like the free NAS, and we're rebuilding this with some hard drives just because it'll be a warm spare for a few of their primary virtual machines. And also, by the way, this client runs some 2003 servers with specialized databases. That's part of the reason they're in a VM. So it doesn't take a ton of horsepower to run what they have. So this server actually ran it fine once it has good hard drives in it. So this is just going to be like a warm spare we're going to keep copies of all the VMs on.
Yeah, this ran all the more advanced ones, didn't it?
It did.
That ran the 2003s.
Yeah, and this one ran. This ran in 2003. So this one will run all their servers fine. But these are just all those little considerations when you onboard a client. That's the part that's important, is that make sure you don't get stuck with the risk because you don't know what the other IT guy did. You don't realize the other IT guy used Western Digital Greens unless you can power off the server and pop a drive out, which not recommended to do that either, especially when it's a questionable server anyways. It's been on for years and out of warranty. But making sure you don't want to take on the risk, but you want to make the client as clear and transparent of that
aware
risk
of potential issues.
Yes. And it's kind of just an assessment you give them.
Because if they get blindsided, now you look bad.
Yeah.
But if you say, well, I hate to say, you don't want to say we told you so, but look, we made you aware of this, and you
Making
knew
you
this was
aware.
a potential risk. We need to solve this.
It's most things. You also stay persistent and you follow up with the client.
Yeah.
So even though at the first initial meeting, maybe they want you to take over one section of their IT, but not all of it, you still send them reminder emails. Hey, just following up to let you know that server, you know, the risk factor hasn't changed. As a matter of fact, it gets worse over time.
Yeah,
because it's
it doesn't
been
get
on longer.
better.
It doesn't get better. It doesn't magically heal itself. So just, you know, letting them know. But on the final note, I will say how we know it's the other IT guy is he didn't even use the right screws in these. We started pulling the screws out. We also realized that this, he's got fine thread screws and coarse thread consumer drives, so that the screws were falling out and the drives weren't sliding out right. So before we can pop these in, we ordered some enterprise drives, just a handful of them to put back in here. You know, even though it's going to be a warm backup, we still wanted, you know, newer hard drives in it, and then we took and ordered the right screw sets to go with them, because where he got these screws
Like $5 for a
yeah,
100
$5 on Amazon for a pack of screws.
I even got to leave the office. They just come here.
Yeah, you gotta leave the office. Just gotta ship them here. Well, like I said, you know, and that comes down to the final, you know, new or used. We went with ServerMonkey for a refurbished server because they offer a warranty on the refurbished. And I think we priced out the new, when we gave them the proposal, it's like half the price, I think?
The cost of just the storage on the Dell, because I was looking at the one for that camera build, the storage alone exceeded the cost of what we paid.
Yeah.
Because Dell wants whereas ServerMonkey for even the enterprise drives was like, what, $150 for SAS drives?
Yeah, they have some good deals on SAS drives. Now, it depends. You got options for refurbished drives and new drives.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is you get a long warranty with them, and you can do some choices. You can get some SSDs with there if you need some caching drives.
Well,
but either way, check that out and make those assessments when you're doing the client. Makes it easy.
I think Dell wanted like $400 a drive. But the one benefit of Dell is there's almost no cost upgrade to go from the 3-year overnight to 5-year. It was less than 10% of the cost of the server, like less than the cost of one of those drives.
Yeah, if you get a Dell, the warranties are a good price.
Go for the 5.
Go for the 5 if you do buy like a new Dell server. But when it comes to buying the hardware, like so you got to present the client with a couple options.
Yeah.
Well, all right, this is just some stuff I want to help you think about because this question comes up a lot, and maybe the term that people use is like when you're onboarding a client or when you're assessing a client or the discovery process.
Yeah.
As I've heard it termed in the MSP. Really, is when you go there, you assess, you know, what you're taking on and what you're getting yourself into. Make sure you think about it and don't leave anything to chance. Let the client know, like, that's old, that's old, that's old.
Yeah.
That server is a big question mark, especially then you find out even more when there's Western Digital greens and what you thought was an enterprise class server. So just stuff to think about when you're getting these. And like I said, we'll have a link below if you're interested in order for ServerMonkey. We have a discount code for you. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and click the thumbs up. Leave us some feedback below to let us know any details, what you like and didn't like as well, because we love hearing the feedback. Or if you just want to say thanks, leave a comment. If you want to be notified of new videos as they come out, go ahead and hit the subscribe and the bell icon. That lets YouTube know that you're interested in notifications. Hopefully they send them, as we've learned with YouTube. Anyways, if you want to contract us for consulting services, you go ahead and hit lawrencesystems.com, and you can reach out to us for all the projects that we can do and help you. We work with a lot of small businesses, IT companies, even some large companies, and you can farm different work out to us or just hire us as a consultant to help design your network. Also, if you want to help the channel in other ways, we have a Patreon. We have affiliate links. You'll find them in the description. You'll also find recommendations to other affiliate links and things you can sign up for on lawrencesystems.com. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.